is still popping up here. See, I've rushed this, and so that's why the glue is not sticking down, because I keep pulling it up before it has a chance to dry. I have bought a new bottle, and it's downstairs in my packaging room, and I haven't brought it up, so hopefully this will last. Alright, so let that dry down there. So now I'm ready to go ahead and create my flaps. And I do think I am going to go with the back side being the blue. Then that way you can put a photo on there. It can be a place for journaling, or whatever you want to put there on the back. And I am going to make my flaps the same height as these. So I'm going to make those 7 inches, and I'm going to make them 4 1/4. So it's let's see. So if I did 311 divided by 3, now I want them 4 1/4, so that I can fit a 4x6 photo on there. So 4 1/4 by, actually if I went 4 1/2, that way when I put on, if I put pattern, no, yeah, on the front side I'll have the pattern paper on there. Now let's just go 4 1/4. So I'm doing these flaps 4 1/4 by 7, but that's the dimension with this size envelope. You will need to determine what size you want your flaps to be based on what envelope size that you are using. And we have 8 envelopes, and so we will need to do 8 flaps. There's 4. Now these all can be the same color like I'm doing, or you can do them different colors if you choose. Alright, so I can set that right inside the fold and add glue to the edge. Touch that down. So that gives me my flap. The same thing on this side. Tuck it up in there, line it up, flip this back. Add my glue, stick it down. Now I do all of my digital papers on 8.5 by 11 because for that very reason is very few people have the 12 by 12 printer. So all of my papers print on 8.5 by 11. It is an 8 by 10 working or printed area because not many people have printers that print to the edge either. So I have a border that you trim off. These don't need to be this big. They can be down to a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. I just, rather than cutting them off, I'm just attaching them on. So I'm kind of doing these production. I'm doing all of the right side ones, and then I'm going to flip the book over and do all the left side ones. And then I'll flip the book over, go back and do the ones on the other side, tuck it in there, fold it over. Quick production method. Somebody's asking about the autofocus on my camera. I don't have the autofocus enabled because it tends to pulse when you move around because we're working in close proximity. So I'm not sure why on YouTube it's so out of focus, because on my where I record on my broadcaster screen, it's in perfect focus. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's blurry, but that's something to do with YouTube. If you could see the two screens, the YouTube screen is very blurry, and my broadcaster screen is not. So that gives me my flaps. So now on the front side, I can go ahead and cut papers, and I'll go ahead and cut those 4 by 6 3/4 to go on to the front side. I could use some of these if I wanted to do so, but I think I'm going to use some of these other papers that maybe have things in a little bit darker or larger scale. So like that one. So this is what the papers look like after you print them out, and you just have to trim off the excess border. Oh, it was fine earlier, so I'm not sure why it's now not showing clearly, because it was perfectly crystal clear earlier. Oh, so for Daisy it's not blurry. Okay, well, that I can't explain that. Alright, so that one's going to go right there. So there's the flap, and there's a pocket right here. You could always punch a little thumb hole on there if you choose to do that. And then there's also the pocket here. Now these guys, this one's got a pocket that's going to be at the top. So this is going to slide in. Now I'm going to shorten these are some Graphic 45 tags. I'm going to shorten these down because I don't want them sticking out quite that much. No, we're making this this big so that I can fit a 4x6 photo on it, Jeannie. Okay, so I'm going to cut 3/4 of an inch off of these. Then I can go ahead and round the corners so that they are the same style. So this one's going to have the pocket on the top. See, I just want that much poking out. So this one's going to have the side pocket, the top pocket, side, top, side. Let's cut one more of these side pockets while I'm doing those. So those fit in there like that. Now on the side pockets, these are the wrong color, but I'm going to use them just because so that you can see. So I've made these 5.5 by 6 1/4. I can probably shrink them down to like 5 1/4 so they don't hang out, because otherwise they're going to stick out. If you don't want them sticking out, I'm going to go ahead and trim these down, and I need 3 of them. So these are then 5 1/4 wide by 6 1/4 tall. And again, I'll probably tweak these in terms of the color, but just for the purposes of seeing where they go. So there you can see where the tags and how that alternating look, what that gives you. So let's get one more on here, and we can look on the inside, see what other paper I would like to use. I like the look of these darker ones on there. Let's see. That one's not bad. Let's go with this one. So again, I'm cutting these 4 by 6 1/4, 6 3/4. The beauty of using the digital papers is once you have purchased the papers, you can print them out as many times as you want. Now, those of you who watch my mystery book club on Fridays, we do much more elaborate pages, and there's a lot of things that you can do. I'm trying to get this one just down and dirty and matted and keeping it super simple and just cruising right along. But you could, with this book, just like you do any other book, we can make these much more elaborate pages. The other thing, this could be attached down in a U shape so that this can be also a pocket. So you could have a pocket on a flap with a pocket and a pocket. So you can go crazy with the pockets. Margaret, if you contact me, we can discuss that further. So we just flip and flip. So again, these are large enough that you can fit a 4x6 photo, or this also would be a good place for journaling. And then we also have the pockets here. Now I want to do a small thumb punch on here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to eyeball the center. So excuse my head if it's in the, oh, it doesn't look like it's on camera. Feels like it should be. So if I just do a little thumb punch there, it's still room for a photo, but it's easier to get the tag out. So centering that. You just line up with the little ticky marks on the side of this punch. Make my little edgy edge there. So then I can go ahead and put some tags inside. We're going to just pretend these are white tags, and these will fit right inside. Or you could do these same tags if you want to, but I'm going to put white, end up putting white tags into those pockets, but that little thumb thing makes it easier to pull those out. But that's how simple that is going to be to make those look good. So let's do one more. We probably have enough for one more pass of them. Kind of like that part of that one. Maybe that part of that one. See if there's any others that I would prefer. Then those are too similar. I think I like those two. Let's go with these two. And so these again, 4 by 6 and a half, or 6 and 3. I keep saying 6 1/4, 6 1/2. It's 6 3/4. I'm gonna get you all confused before this is all over with. Yeah, I only punched through the paper layer on that genie to punch that little thumb slot. So that one's going to go here. things, this keeps popping up, which tells me that that paper is under stress. I am thinking my dimension for my spine measured 4 1/8. I think what I would do for that spine, I think it may want to be just a little bit narrower so the spine can kind of arch a little bit. I would cut my spine to be just the 1 inch rather than the 1 1/8. And then I don't think my paper would be under as much stress and it wouldn't be popping the way it's popping in the back. So just a recommendation is rather than making the spine the 1 1/8 like I did, I would make it the more instead of what it actually measures, make it a little bit narrower. So maybe 1/8 of an inch narrower than what it measures. And then I don't think I'll have that popping action that I've got going on here in the back. Usually when something doesn't want to stay stuck down, it's because it's being stressed. So yeah, what those somebody's asking about these thumb holes. So what's underneath here is the envelope. So then when I put this in, that's the back of the envelope, so that's why you don't see, then you see the white. For those of you who know me well, you do not know how hard it is for me to just cut my papers and glue them on and leave it at that. Those of you who come to my Friday classes know that I like to do all the fussy little details, but sometimes you just need to get something done. So, and again, this is just the layer of the matting that we put on. If you recall, the envelope is down there. So all I'm doing is cutting through that pattern paper. And this hole can get punched anywhere along that side if you wanted to. So then you'll continue on and doing this with the other two as well. Let's go ahead and get those figured out. I think we got enough time. So we'll go with that one. And perhaps that one. This is working out quickly. For those of you who are looking for something a little bit more complex, you can come back on Fridays. We do a different page each week of a mystery album. You don't know what the page looks like until you receive the instructions for it. There's both written and video instructions. So this last one, it's kind of peachy. You can do this one. So we'll get everything but the cover put on in class. Alrighty, so we can get these all. And then our last ones, let's go light. So there we go. We pretty much have it all matted here in this short time with class. Let's get this guy. There. There. And there. So that gives me these all punched. Good to go. Now the only thing that's kind of driving me nuts on these is it is just a little too plain for me. You could do some stamping on there. I'm going to take a pen, a fine line pen, and I'm just going to make a border. And then my pen dies. That's great. And just draw a fine border. Now you could use a ruler. I like doing them by hand, and that usually makes everybody absolutely go nuts, crazy. But that just gives a little bit more finished, look to me to have that around there. And I think I'm probably going to do the same thing around here. Now I'm probably going to try to find in my stash of cardstock a lavender for those side pockets, but for now we'll just go ahead and leave the aqua in. But that just gives it a little more finished look to me. You can also add pattern paper to these tags. One of the things I do with a lot of my papers is you are able to mix and match. So for instance, I use a lot of checks and stripes in my papers. This one doesn't happen to have that, but there are plenty of my other papers who do have that in them, and that would make a cool accent. Yeah, you could stamp. That's what I was just saying, but thank you, Linda. I was just saying you could stamp on these. It just needed to me, it just needed a little something. And by doing this, the inside of my book, the same color as the little binding strips, the pages kind of look like and then having the darker pages, the pages kind of float. But that gives you a quick and easy little book. Put pattern paper on the front, back, and the spine. Now on these corners, I tend to not put paper on there. You can put ribbon, you can put cloth, you could paint these with the lightweight chipboard. But you know, I'll be able to pick. Maybe I'll go with something. These two could be, or this one would look really good on the front cover. One of the things that you can do as well is, for instance, if I did use this one as my front cover, some of these scrap pieces, I could cut these little flowers out and add them with maybe some foam tape behind them to give some depth, or I can add in some, you know, have this on there, and then I could add in, so for instance, I have a purple flower, maybe a cream color flower. This is from my stash of ancient flowers. So these got little gems on them. I don't even want to know how old these are. So put that, you know, so you could add in some of these flowers on top of what's already on there. Let's just cut this piece. We're not going to get it stuck down, but let's see, what size is this again? This is 6 by 8. But we can lay this on top and you can see kind of what I'm saying here, and then we'll be pretty much done with our 2 hours. Yes, Joy, you can use Joy's like, I can't draw like that. Draw straight lines like that. Yeah, use a ruler. It's no big deal. All right, so if I put this one on for my cover paper, and then I can go ahead and, I love this. You can also take those off if you don't like them on there. You know, I'll just add some little flowers. Let's see what I got here. I got some little white leaves. Let me grab those. I had those a second ago. So that could dress up the cover. Stick that down. Bada boom, bada bing. You got yourself an album. There you go. Quick and fast. Clear off that mess from over there. Get this where you can see what I've got going here without all the clutter. There you go. And boom. An envelope album. Quick and easy. If I did a cloth over the entire spine, I could potentially, you can put paper over it. I'm inclined to, on an album like this, to use just something to cover it because it's more visual. I'm sorry, I'm trying to grab something here. What do we have? Some wide ribbon. Put it in the right color. I would do something, here's some seam binding ribbon. This is only 1/2 inch wide, but we can do something as simple as this. I'm going to cut it a little extra long because then I can trim it, but this will keep from cracking. And I know some people don't like to use the cotton ribbons because of their climate. They have issues, but if you use something that's a synthetic, that's like a nylon, so here I've just applied some score tape to the back of some of the seam binding ribbon. So then keep that nice and clean. And I'm using this to just peel this off. So I'm going to lay this right. Actually, I can open this up. Lay this right over the seam. Haha, that's its seam binding. Get it? And this guy needs to be just, I want it just a little bit inside, so I'm going to trim about 1/8 of an inch off. So we're going to get this cover stuck down after all. then I can line that up right on the edge. And so the seam binding ribbon will be right where the joint is. Keeps the joint nice and flexible, and it doesn't crack the way paper can. You could cut ribbon strips, you can use ribbon strips, you could cut fabric strips, you could cover the entire spine with fabric and cover over the fabric on the spine. So I do the same sort of thing on the back like I'm doing with this, and then I'm going to put paper on the spine as well. So then that gives me my cover. And then when I can go back and glue these guys all on. And that gives me my album. Helps to reinforce my, and this is, as I said, this is just that seam binding kind of ribbon, but you can use any kind of ribbon. You could, it's a nice way to bring an accent color in as well. It's good to go. This is, you know, quick and easy, but nobody has to know that it's quick and easy. So if you need a quick gift, perfect wedding shower, baby shower, birthday, grandma, co-worker, any of those that you want to give them something a little special that's handmade. You can pull papers from your stash. You can use the digital papers, all of that, and boom, it's that fast and easy. Pull some flowers that you have in your stash, that sort of thing. Graduation, absolutely. You can pretty much make it any theme that you want it to be. So hopefully this has given you a fun little album to work on. And that is that album. So those of you who are watching here on the live show, thank you all so much. Thank you to Joy and to Lois both for helping to moderate today. And to for those of you who are watching this via video, whether it's on my website or on YouTube, thanks for joining us. And that's where we're at. So we'll be back on Friday at 10 o'clock. So rather than switching cameras, I'm just going to say peace out. Love you guys all so much. And we will see you next time. Thanks a bunch. Bye for now.